Good evening, everyone. My name is Gopal Krishna Anand, Associate Editor of Oemupdate magazine, and I welcome you all to the OEM magazine's interactive session, Smart Manufacturing, Transforming Defense and Aerospace. I have my colleague Darshana, editorial Oemupdate magazine, to introduce the panelists and tell you more about this interactive session. I welcome Ms. Darshana to take over and moderate the session.
Thank you, Mr. Gopal. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Oemupdate's interactive session on smart manufacturing transforming defense and aerospace. India has become a promising manufacturing destination in the defense and aerospace sector. India used to be a major importer of weapons and defense systems. Manufacturing is undergoing a paradigm shift. Now it is delving into the Make in India, Make for the World plan as a component of aviation and defense industry to foot itself as a global manufacturing hub. Recently, the 14th edition of Aero India witnessed over 800 defense companies, including MSMEs and startups, present their products and technologies from India and abroad. It opened new avenues for employment. Indigenous manufacturing of aero engines is the need of the hour for the aerospace sector to achieve complete self-reliance. This is a concentrated approach to the indigenous design and development of positional weapon systems using technologies like AI, robotics, and IoT. With India expected to become the world's third largest aviation market by 2024, smart factories and Industry 4.0 technologies hold the key to this sector's future. Industry 4.0 has the potential to revolutionize the future manufacturing in India. Machine learning technology has a variety of applications in aerospace and beyond. On this note, Oemupdate will be hosting an interactive session cum conference on smart manufacturing, transforming defense and aerospace. During this 90-minute session, from 4 to 5:30, industrial experts will talk about emerging opportunities and challenges for Industry 4.0, self-reliance and design capabilities, supply chain organization, accelerated delivery, exports and services, enhancing the productivity of Indian manufacturing and growth of the economy. It's an honor and privilege for me to introduce you to today's distinguished panel, Mr. Raman Supori, founder and president of Aerospace and Defense Consultants Association of India, Dr. Sanjeev Kumar, head of Business Development India, Renishaw Metrology Systems Limited, Dr. Vijay Kalantri, president, All India Association of Industries.
My query is, what recent development in automation technologies have taken place in aerospace and defense sector aligned with Make in India and Atmanirbharta to increase defense aircraft manufacturing?
The Indian aerospace defense industry is now becoming part of the global supply chain itself. So all the best practices which are happening in USA, Europe, or any part of the world are also getting adopted. You must have seen that Indian armed forces are now moving and doing joint exercises in Australia, Tokyo, Alaska, and many parts of the world. So the protocols which are happening in those fighting machines, they have to talk to our machines. Today's pilot is not flying a aircraft, he's flying an onboard computer. Today's soldier is not an infantry soldier of yesteryears, just carrying a 303 machine during the 1962 Chinese debacle. The soldier's equipment, he is now a node in a larger battlefield network, which is intense electromagnetic interference. So the same is the case with Navy also. So anybody who is thinking that the machines and platforms of today are just a mixture of hardware, aerospace or defense, mechanical parts, a bit of electronics, and a bit of software, actually is living in a very, very old era. Today's defense technologies are becoming smarter. They are thinking machines available, artificial intelligence, robotics, Industry 4.0, all these processes are there. Today's requirement of the customer is, how fast can you give me the solution to my problem? How fast can you give me the ready-made equipment itself? They are not interested in just listening to your presentation. They say, give me the solution. And can you make it faster? Can you make it better? Can you make it cheaper? This is not the way the good old days were there in the DRDO programs or the defense public sector itself. It's a question of now public-private partnership. There are many large programs in which the defense public sector is also competing with the private sector. Indian private sector and Indian public sector is competing with the rest of the world in their geography itself. And then the international cooperation in the technology of the projects is happening. So all the things which are happening in rest of the world in current and, what you could dream of is happening today itself. Some of the IITs like IIT Delhi, Kanpur, Chennai, and many places in Bombay, the first drone industry came from IIT Bombay. These are young students. I myself, when I was uniform, I didn't have access to the computing machines to do the programming. So I went to the IBM lab in IIT Delhi, but the fees I had to pay was to mentor the students. And today I'm happy to share that some of the students of those years who were still studying are now, um, running defense companies. Some of my own students are now country heads of many of the companies in USA. So, and the 3D printing is something which somebody mentioned just now. For example, India has imported a lot of system from Russia, Soviet era. If that drawing is available and parts are not available, there are Indian companies willing to invest and create those parts. I was spearheading to talk to the Air Force and to MOD that if you don't get a part, don't get worried. There are Indian entrepreneurs willing to invest and give you the part. But the problem was the defense quality management system did not accept it. They said, how can I take the risk of introducing a part which OEM has not done on 3D printing? So it's a question of educating also the customer itself. So it's a win-win for everyone. So all the digital twin, which we talk of architecture. And mind you, the issue would be that electric vehicle, people think it is only for the civil aerospace. No, even the defense itself, the list has come. All the electric buses, electric vehicles, the logistics management itself. The Indian Army has issued some requirements for logistics drones. These are on the 15 kg and 20 kg class drones. These are also high altitude drones. Even if the last mile connectivity is not there to deliver the medicines or the rations to the Indian Jawans and the high altitude in Kargil Glacier, the Indian private sector has come forward to deliver them through the drones. So there is nothing like saying no to the customer now. Customer is demanding it faster and faster, and if we don't have digitization in the process, you'll be left behind. So if some company thinks I have developed a product which was 10 years ago, I'll keep reaping benefits, it will be absolutely foolhardy to realize that, because the competition is growing and prices are shrinking, but the volume of business is growing. Let's take, for example, in the COVID times, when the whole world was slowing down, there were Indian entrepreneurs in Bangalore I know of. They developed smart clinics online. With my partners in the industry, we developed COVID management system. That means, and that those, online clinics could handle 10,000 patients. These are technology which were not available. So anybody who can dream of a solution, digitization, and Indian private sector can reap the benefits. And you don't need big companies to run. These are small companies. Some companies have come from their bedrooms or garages, and then now they become big companies itself. Some of the supply chain of the Boeing today from Bangalore are small students. So the bureaucracy is cut down. Same is the case with the policy of foreign direct investment itself, 74%. So I, from my part, is doing all that what I can to boost. And age is not a bar. You can be as young as 18 or as old as 80 plus also. There are a lot of people. So experience is available, the digitization is available. And let me tell you that a lot of young lady entrepreneurs are also coming into this play. New airlines are coming. Somebody said, who's going to service this industry? There was one point which I would like to add to what Dr. Sanjeev mentioned about quality itself. My concern is that you can improve the quality of manufacturing industry, but my concern is on the quality of the software industry. If you know, there was a crash of Boeing aircraft in which the people died in Malaysian airline itself. Ultimately, the real story is that it was the defect in the software itself. Apollo 13 mission failed because of software. If your Windows crashes today, or mobile crashes today, you can switch off and switch on. But what about a mission which is so critical in the air or in the battlefield or in the submarine? where the software bug comes, and then who's going to answer for that? As a student of software engineering, I can make a hypothesis that there is no software in the world which is 100% defect free, or it has got zero defect. Despite the Six Sigma, which people talk of, the only issue is that that particular software could not be detected because it was not tested. For me to certify a software which is 100% or it has got zero defects, I have to test it infinite number of times, which is physically not possible. So there will be always one defect which has gone unnoticed because the test conditions are not there. Because the testing is the last part of the whole thing before the integration of the projects. That takes a lot of time. That takes a lot of cost. So the companies are also willing to produce the product like a Maruti car, and then you can withdraw it. In the defense case, it is not possible itself. Imagine a soldier is using your ammunition, it doesn't fire because the software quality process was not there. Who will be responsible? So software also has to be taken care of this, which is recently there was a, please don't quote me, there was a crash landing in one of the forward bases, and again the pilot was saved, but it was because there was a defect in the software. A very leading reputed company had done the system integration, but the part of this was given by another Indian OEM. So quality of the software is equally important, not the physical quantity of the hardware itself, mechanical parts. Software is something which is invisible. It is 70% of the cost. That's where the profitability comes. So, and software will happen with many geographical locations. So the documentation of that is very critical. And companies who are into the system integration should pay equal importance to the software of this. And in software, the turnover of the manpower is very, very fast. So the companies who are into the business of software for defense, aerospace, or anywhere else should pay equal importance to that. Imagine the software in the banking system goes, you get frustrated when you don't get your online transfer. But what happens to the pilot who's flying an aircraft? He is not able to do that. He can't eject properly. So please put yourself, or in the other place. So they've been these examples. So let's learn from them. There's a process. So this is what I would like to say. And I'm my part willing to share more details on this. Some use cases can be done. And absolutely, sir. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Mr. Raman, for glaring instances you have cited just now. Dr. Sanjeev, would you like to comment upon this? He was touching the topic of 3D also.
So before I answer that, Raman sir, I think you have a wealth of experience. I think the more you and Dr. Vijay sir, I think the more we can learn from you, this will be very much beneficial to everyone. You touched upon a very important subject, the quality of the software, and no matter how much regression tests that we are able to do now, there could be one such test scenario that we may have not tested, and it may only happen one in say a million, but that one in the million could be a fatal one. I understand, and this is a challenge, of course, with the step change in the software industry. Like, as you remember, sir, earlier on it was a waterfall method that we used to use. Now it's an agile method. At least that has made a lot of these products much more robust. However, there still are I think challenges, so I think that needs to be addressed. And you're also right that when there are 5 or 6 different softwares being integrated and somebody else is doing integration, there are, as we say, failure modes. So say one software handshaking another software, handshaking another software, so there are failure modes. So I think that's a subject which needs to be looked into much more detail. Leading from that, I'll touch upon the 3D metal printing, which is a very I think 3D metal printing is taking the aerospace and the defense segment to the next level. And it's already there. I think Sir was talking about entrepreneurs in Bangalore. I think Renishaw, we have been very fortunate because we have our own 3D metal printing solution as well. But what I would like to say that 3D metal printing is already being used in defense, space, and aerospace segment. And one of the challenges, like what Sir was talking about, the problem that we have in software side, there's certain problems with 3D metal printing is trying to solve and eradicate. I'll give you an example. Let's say if we have to make, say, a tube, say a hollow tube, uh, different. So maybe let's say in a traditional method, there may be it's a joint of various components. Let's say there were 11 joints, right? So all these 11 joints, where they are there, those are all failure modes, right? Maybe the flow of the air could be problem. Now with the 3D metal printing, you don't have to make those in 11 different steps and add them together. You can make that in one. And if you make that as in one part, you have a less chance of errors. So this is how not only with the 3D metal printing, you can make very complex shapes, you're also reducing the failure modes. And that is where there's enormous possibilities of aerospace and defense segment, the number of applications. But so I think 3D metal printing is very exciting. We have now some Indian companies as well who are doing R&D, and they're also producing 3D metal printing machines as well. So it's a very exciting space, and this will really help us boost. And this basically, I think one thing I would like to add, this basically makes the level playing field level, right? If we look at software and the technology reduces the gap which, let's say, we could have with the Western world, because the same technology, the same software is available with everyone. Now look at where earlier on there was a supply chain, right? So let's say you get A part from Germany, B part from France, I think Toulouse, C parts from Bristol in, I think, UK. And then you have to wait for these parts, and then you come back, assemble, and make, say, aircraft or some kind of product. Now, and for that you have various different designs, various different processes that goes into that. With the 3D metal printing, with these processes, you don't have to do that in these various different geographies, right? So all these, you can have a discrete manufacturing system here. So I think these technologies are really reducing the gap, and we should capitalize onto this rather than really fearing, okay, we have to think about, look into our processes, how do we accept these things, because these are the things, these are the technologies we cannot ignore, and these gives us the leverage to bridge that gap. So I think to reduce those number of gaps, let's say, between us and, say, some of the Western world. And that's why I'm excited that the opportunities here, we can capitalize with these technologies. Thank you, sir. I hope I was able to answer your question.
Yes, Dr. Sanjeev, how do you see growth of aluminum and other metal compositions with the new opening of airports to accommodate passengers' demand that is increasing to make the aircrafts lighter?
Yes. So I think I think I'll lead from the conversation that I left. So I think Raman sir had a point to say. Sir, you go first.
I have to rush to the airport to catch a flight.
Yes.
But I would like to add something on the smart materials.
Right.
In good old days, when the soldier was going to the high altitudes, particularly 1962 war, he didn't have enough sweater and clothing itself. Now the smart clothing itself is something, a big opportunity itself. There's a new area of opportunity called the technical textiles. Here the nanofiber offers a solution to that. We have the graphene as the new solution available, the world's lightest and the strongest carbon composite. And in the aerospace and space technology now, we have more materials available for which the panelists will be sharing. But today, to make the soldiers' uniform more rugged and bulletproof, these are technical ceramics technology available now. I'm just using the word with a caution. Technical ceramics, and you can make your vehicles bulletproof. You can make your soldiers' clothing bulletproof. Today, Indian Army soldier not only goes in a standalone, he's got a camera which is fitted on his uniform. Today, the camera is on a single node. Very soon, it will be something like future infantry soldiers as a system. So he will have his radio, which is the software-defined radio. In good old days, soldier had to carry an HF radio, a VHF radio, UHF radio. That means 3 set of radios, 3 set of batteries, 3 set of chargers. Today, it is just one radio with a software. And the government has told it very clearly, whether he is Army, Navy, Air Force person, same radio, only thing is the software will change with flick of a button. And this software will be written by Indian brain in India. That means India will have a control on the data. That's very exciting time, and the requirements are very large, not only from the Indian Army, Navy, Air Force, also for the paramilitary also. So this is one area which is happening. So technical textile, you can discuss this. I'm sorry, I have to rush to the airport. There's a flight. I have to rush, and then I'll get you some good news very soon. With your permission, sir, can I go?
Thank you very much, Mr. Raman, for that. Dr. Vijay, we were talking about the technology and automation technologies going deeply into this aerospace and defense sector. What possibilities do you see for the skill development in the aerospace and defense industry? Because there is a program also, some Kaushal announced by the government of India under the Skill India International that aims to train 2 lakh people. So what are your views about it?
No, I think that program which was initiated is a good program, because that's the initial training which you want to give to each and everyone who joins the Kaushal training program. And earlier there was a lot of hue and cry. Some people were not clear about this program. So there was some setback also. But I think this is what we should think of training for future. As in the sports, we are today saying that you should start when you are 7th, 8th standard and train them for Olympics. Similarly, this Kaushal program is another way of skilling people to be competent in defense and aerospace, and of course, use of technology and artificial intelligence, whatever we call, so that initially they can be put into the same streamline to be useful to us at the real time, rather than pushing them at the last stage. You know that push policy does not work. And influence, if I get admission, influence, I get space anywhere, that has no meaning. But if I properly come through a training and the process, and through this skilling and Kaushal program or whatever, and I think besides this, government should have certain skill centers, and this could be divided into 3-4 categories, whether some in disruptive technology, as we have in various fields. And just now, Mr. Raman was saying that why not, like in bulletproof jackets, defense uniforms, in various sectors, not only in military and defense, but also BSF or other forces, which are also part of our looking after, because today law and order and security, most of the forces look after, whether it is police and all. When Mumbai had 26/11, unfortunately, the bulletproof jackets which were given, the police were not able to wear also, and they were not working also. But fortunately, in last 10 years, the policy which government has come out with, they are working. And at least on defense and on security services, they are very firm. And recently with the skill development and Ayush ministry, which works for all ministries, whether it is defense or whether it is home ministry, the skilling in this area will be very good. And this Kaushal program is good, and it could be enhanced to more people in years to come. So that, and after 4 years, he's trained. Like in Singapore and other countries we see, they train for 1 year or 2 years. Every people to learn a military training or forces training in any field, whether it is Navy, Army or Air Force, doesn't make a difference. But such training and skilling of people will go a long way in strengthening our forces.
Definitely, Dr. Vijay, that was quite nice to hear about the skilling program, and that has to take place with the increasing technology. Dr. Sanjeev, see, we have heard about 4G, 5G. Now, some 2 days before 6G mission was also launched. Yeah. So that visualizes a focus initiative for the next generation technology in India. How it is going to provide further fillip to manufacturing in this defense and aerospace sector?
again, it's a really exciting time. So I think we all have seen that uh, the all these technologies, whether it is manufacturing, whether it is software, whether it is telecommunication, they all go hand in hand, right? If you look at some of these things wouldn't have been possible if the processing speed of the computer wasn't up to the mark where it should be, right? Since the computer became much better, much more efficient, much more powerful, I think the associated technologies which was developed by the computer became much more powerful. So similarly, when we made a transition from 1G to 2G to 3G to 4G, now you look at 4G, how much even the 4G has made a revolution in the India. Throughout the India, I can imagine now 75% of places in India, which is a big thing, are covered by these, I think, 4G. And that is making a lot of things possible. That's why even people living in remote places are able to tune into some of these programs and listen to this and get inspired, and I think get training, get learning, and try to do. Now you imagine if we go to 4G to 5G and 5G to now 6G, so the communication is going to be ramped up so high, so fast. So that is going to cut down two things. First of all, I think the development time of some of these technologies or some of these products that will take. Second, it will make them even more efficient. So I think uh, instant benefit, you can imagine, like as a layman, let's say if there are laymen listening to this, you would know that there are a lot of communication protocols, communication systems available as a part of whether it is a fighter plane, whether it is a commercial plane, all these things. Imagine then when it goes to the 6G, how fast that could be and how much effective that could be for the pilots, whether it is for the commercial aircraft or whether it is for defense aircraft. So there it's going to bring a lot of changes. So I think the possibility is enormous and it's exciting time that it's going to take some time, because right now in the transition phase from 4G to 5G, it will take time for 5G to 6G, but it's just amazing
Definitely,
possibilities.
definitely, Dr. Sanjeev. Digital connectivity is increasing. So,
Exactly.
Dr. Vijay, sir, a very simple question: what is leading the growth of aerospace and defense sector in India? What factors are leading the growth?
See, this is a new area which has been opened up by the government. Till yesterday, it was not open. Let's be very frank. It was very restricted. We were from MSME sector and our industry association were pleading to the government for last 20 years that open up this sector. Why don't you give to Indian industry? When you are buying the same from the private companies overseas, why don't you buy from India? But
Right.
our political leaders had different set of mind, our bureaucrats had different way of working. So it was not opening up. Fortunately, in last 5-7 years, the government has realized that it should be opened up to the private sector. We should open up to MSME sector, and Indians are competent. But if you think about Kargil war, the bullets which were made and given to the defense ministry were by the small scale sector.
Right.
The large industries could not supply, the foreign people could not supply the requirement. And it was made by the small scale sector and supplied. It is in the part of the defense report, and it is a part of the statement by Mr. Vajpayee and Mr. George Fernandez, who was the defense minister at that time. So what I feel is that it is very timely that this sector is going to get pushed. People are looking at this. People are tying up technology also, because in some sectors we need technology from overseas, because we are not technology that competent as we should have been. But if it would have been over 20 years, we would have been. So this will drive a new area of operation. People feel the margins are good because we will make more profit, because there are very few entrant today.
Right.
After a few days, there will be more entrant. But otherwise, I remember when Mr. Bansilal was the defense minister, the first bomb cell and other manufacturing was manufactured in Louisiana. RK Machine Tools, I remember the name of the company. And Defense Minister Bansilal said, you make the bomb cell. So that time, Mrs. Gandhi said, "What are you talking? They will make," and they made it in Ludhiana. So Indian entrepreneurs can do miracles. Are technology very savvy, lacked by opportunities. Even Mr. J.R.D. Tata, when he opened up the textile market you talked about technical textile. So when he opened up the textile market in Surat, he first time used that word technical textile, will be the future. And he said, Indian entrepreneurs are excellent entrepreneurs. They can do something which is impossible, but they are lacked by opportunities and the system. System does not support them. Today, fortunately, both the things are in their favor as far as the sectors which are close to the government. Again, I have come with a little bit of semicolon that the sectors which are close to the government, and they will deliver. And I think that is what is driving the entrepreneurs to do this. And the banking system and others also, I say, follow up the same way.
Definitely, Dr. Vijay. That was quite nice to highlight those points of the factors. So can you give a closing statement?
Closing statement is very simple. We are into a new era of world. Everybody has to defend himself. And it's good that government has realized. So our entrepreneurs should do their best to give best to his country in this defense and aerospace area. Of course, artificial intelligence and disruptive technology is part of it. But we will be competent to deliver. Only our bureaucracy and the government should support the entrepreneurs. This is my appeal to them, that if somebody is doing well, don't pinprick.
Thank you, Dr. Vijay. Can you finish the closing statement, Dr. Sanjeev?
So thank you, sir. Thank you, Vijay, sir. Thank you, Darshana, ma'am. Thank you to every delegate who attended this. And thank you to I think, patient listeners. I think everyone.
They are more important.
Yes, who participated in, I think, today's discussion. One thing is clear. You all must have heard, India has a lot of opportunities in this segment. So come join the segment in whatever capacity you want to be, as an entrepreneur, as an investor, as a professional in the, whether a software professional, engineering professional. This is a segment which is thriving. Opportunities are massive, and India is going to become a superpower in this segment in next 20 years. So watch that space. The timing is right now. So with that, thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Sanjeev and Dr. Vijay, for accepting my request. I request Ms. Darshana to close the session, please.
Thank you, panelists, for exchanging your valuable thoughts on today's Smart Manufacturing Transforming Defense and Aerospace session. We hope you enjoyed the session thoroughly. Before wrapping up today's session, we would like to thank our distinguished panelists, Mr. Vijay, Mr. Raman, and Mr. Sanjeev Kumar. I would also like to thank Mr. Gopal Anand and Mr. Prasad Nair for taking this initiative. We request our delegates and viewers to stay connected with us on our social media handles. Oemupdate is available on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You can also download our app from Play Store or Google Play. So with this, we would like to announce the closing of today's session. Request you to stay tuned for more such sessions. Thank you and goodbye.